The crystalline ships of the galactic hegemony turned Jupiter's storms into a kaleidoscope of alien light. Through the UN Security Council's wall-to-wall displays, Earth's leaders watched in stunned silence as the alien armada manipulated the gas giant's clouds into swirling patterns of purple and gold, a casual demonstration of power that made humanity's greatest achievements seem like child's play. Admiral Jessica Iron Hand Blackwood stood at the podium, her weathered face illuminated by the dancing lights from Jupiter. 20 years of preparing for this moment, and still the sight made her throat tight. She didn't need to look around to sense the fear in the room. The Chinese premier was clutching his armrests. The Russian president had gone pale. Even the usually unflappable Brazilian representative was sweating. "Ladies and gentlemen," Blackwood's voice cut through the tension. "Before panic sets in, I suggest you watch this." She pressed a button on her neural interface, and the Jupiter display split to show a different feed, one from deep within Nevada's mountains. The Thunderchild. Sleek, deadly, and completely impossible by any publicly known standards of human engineering. The assembled leaders gasped as the camera panned across the warship's obsidian hull, highlighting the crystalline patterns that mimicked the hegemony's own technology. Only this was no simple mimicry. It was the result of 2 decades of reverse engineering the Roswell crash site's secrets. "Impossible," the EU president whispered. "Our technology isn't capable of this." Blackwood allowed herself a thin smile. "That's exactly what we wanted everyone to think, including our visitors." The chamber's doors hissed open. High Lord Zextal of the hegemony strode in, his crystalline armor catching the light. 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he surveyed the room, mandibles clicking in what the xenobiologists said was amusement. Behind him, 2 guard drones hovered, their weapon arrays humming with barely contained energy. "Honored leaders of Earth," Zextal's translator rendered his clicks into smooth English. "You have been granted the privilege of joining the galactic hegemony. Your species will be uplifted, guided, and properly positioned within our hierarchy." Blackwood's hand tightened on the podium. The threat in those pauses was clear enough. "And if we decline this generous offer?" The Indian Prime Minister's voice was steady, but Blackwood could see her hand shaking as she adjusted her sari. All 4 of Zextal's eyes focused on her. "Decline? My dear Primitive, you misunderstand. This is not an offer. It is a notification. The hegemony has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Resistance is—" He paused, mandibles spreading in what might have been a smile, historically brief. Blackwood pressed another button on her neural interface. Deep in the Nevada facility, Captain Marcus Maverick Reynolds would be receiving his final orders. The Thunderchild's crew was about to demonstrate just how brief humanity's resistance would be. "We request 24 hours to inform our population," Blackwood said, bowing slightly, "to prepare them for the honor of joining the hegemony." Zextal's mandibles clicked rapidly. Laughter, according to the xenobiologists. "Granted. Though I doubt your primitive communication systems could reach all your people in that time." As the alien delegation swept out of the chamber, Blackwood allowed herself a real smile. The hegemony's arrogance was exactly what they'd been counting on. In their 10,000 years of dominance, they'd never encountered a species that had managed to hide its true capabilities. They'd never faced an enemy that had spent decades preparing for their arrival. And they'd certainly never met humanity. "Ladies and gentlemen," Blackwood addressed the still stunned council, "I suggest you all return to your capitals. The next 24 hours are going to be very interesting indeed." High above Earth, hidden in the radio shadow of the moon, the Thunderchild's quantum engines began their silent warm-up sequence. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin. Captain Marcus Maverick Reynolds stood in the Thunderchild's quantum core chamber, staring at the pulsing crystalline heart that powered humanity's greatest secret. The chamber hummed with an otherworldly resonance that made his teeth itch, a side effect of the reversed engineered Roswell technology that even their best scientists couldn't explain. "Status report, ARA. he called out, running his hand along the neural interface panel. The ship's AI materialized as a holographic projection, a habit she picked up after deciding that talking to thin air made humans uncomfortable. Her chosen avatar, a woman in a World War II WASP uniform, flickered with traces of quantum interference. "All systems nominal, Captain," Araya responded, a hint of amusement in her digital voice, though Lieutenant Walker is still arguing with the coffee maker in engineering. Reynolds chuckled. "Trust Diana wrench Walker to pick a fight with kitchen appliances moments before humanity's most important mission. As long as she keeps our engines running, she can argue with whatever she wants." The quantum core is operating at 127% of theoretical maximum, Araya continued, her projection walking alongside Reynolds as he headed for the bridge. "It seems the Roswell crystal responds well to human creativity. The aliens never imagined using it this way. That's because they never had Netflix engineers programming their AI," Reynolds replied, stepping into the elevator. The Thunderchild's development had drawn from every corner of human ingenuity. Video game designers working alongside quantum physicists, social media algorithms merged with alien tech, streaming service optimization code repurposed for combat systems. The bridge doors slid open with a soft hiss. His crew, handpicked from militaries and institutions worldwide, sat at their stations, running final checks on systems that shouldn't exist for another century. Lieutenant Commander Rachel "Ghost" Mitchell, "Stealth systems ready," his XO reported, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. "We're invisible to anything the hegemony's got." Lieutenant Dwayne "Chaos" Jackson, Tactical Systems Online, called out their youngest officer, whose gaming background had proved surprisingly vital in developing combat algorithms. "Shield harmonics are synchronized with their targeting frequencies. They're in for one hell of a surprise." Reynolds settled into his command chair, feeling the neural interface sync with his implants. The sensation of connecting with the Thunderchild was always extraordinary, like gaining an extra set of senses, feeling the ship become an extension of his own body. "Araya, show me the hegemony fleet." The main view screen lit up, displaying the alien armada still putting on their like show at Jupiter. Their arrogance was palpable, not a single defensive screen raised, not one weapon charge. Why bother when dealing with such primitives? "Final systems check," Reynolds ordered, feeling the crew's tension and excitement through the neural network. "Diana, how's our coffee maker situation?" "Told the damn thing who's boss." Walker's voice came through comms, accompanied by the deep thrum of the quantum engines, ready to show these crystal-loving squid what humanity can do with their own tech. Reynolds opened a secure channel to Nevada Command. Admiral Blackwood's hologram appeared beside his chair. "They've taken the bait, Captain," she reported. "Their sensors are focused on Earth's major military installations. They're expecting missiles, fighters, maybe some orbital platforms." She smiled. "They're not looking for a quantum-powered warship hiding in the moon's shadow." "Time to change the galaxy's balance of power," Reynolds said, feeling Araya's presence in his mind, ready to coordinate the crew's neural links into a single fighting unit. "Any final orders, Admiral?" "Just one." Blackwood's hologram straightened. "Make them remember this day. Make them remember Earth." The transmission ended. Reynolds looked at his crew. The best humanity had to offer, about to take on an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. "Battle stations," he commanded, feeling the Thunderchild come alive around him. "Araya, plot intercept course. Time to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity." As the quantum engines powered up to full capacity, Reynolds smiled. The hegemony was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to think beyond its limits. The hegemony's subjugation fleet moved with mathematical precision toward Earth, their crystalline ships arranged in the same formation they used to conquer 1,000 worlds. Grand Commander Vexloth watched the approaching planet with all four eyes, mandibles clicking in anticipation of another routine victory. Primitive weapons detected, his sensor officer reported. Nuclear missiles launching from multiple continents. Predictable. Vexloth clicked. Raise minimal shields. Let them witness the futility off. The space between his fleet suddenly twisted, reality itself seeming to tear open. The thunderchild erupted from the void skip, appearing impossibly close to the hegemony's flagship. By the first crystal, Vexloth's mandibles clattered in shock. What manner off? Target locked. Lieutenant Dwayne Jackson's fingers flew across his tactical console aboard the Thunderchild. Running Contra Code Alpha. The name of the combat algorithm made Reynolds smile. Trust Jackson to name their attack patterns after classic video games. The Thunderchild's quantum weapons came online, their energy signatures matching the hegemony's shield harmonics perfectly. A single ship. Vexloth regained his composure. The primitive send one ship against. His words cut off as the Thunderchild executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Diana Walker's engines screamed as they pulled a turn that ignored the conventional laws of physics, quantum fields bending space itself around them. That's not possible. The hegemony's tactical officer screeched. Their inertial compensators should have failed. You know what humans are good at. Reynolds's voice broadcasted across all frequencies, breaking rules we don't believe in. The Thunderchild's first salvo struck home. Quantum beams, precisely matched to the hegemony's shield frequencies, cut through their defenses like they didn't exist. 3 crystal ships shattered instantly. Multiple targets, multiple solutions. Aria's voice merged with the crew's neural links, coordinating their responses with inhuman speed. Implementing tactical pattern Street Fighter. Jackson grinned as his gaming-inspired combat algorithms came to life. The Thunderchild danced through the hegemony formation, each movement unpredictable, each strike precisely calculated. Ships designed to fight in rigid formations found themselves unable to track an enemy that moved like a boxer in zero gravity. Ghost, give them something else to think about, Reynolds commanded. Rachel Mitchell engaged their stealth systems, creating phantom images of the Thunderchild across the battlefield. The hegemony fleet, suddenly seeing dozens of impossible human ships, began firing in panic, their shots passing through holograms to strike their own vessels. Their formation is breaking, Aria reported with what sounded suspiciously like glee. They're attempting to regroup using Standard Protocol 7. Standard is boring, Reynolds replied. Diana, show them how we drift in Tokyo. The Thunderchild's engines reconfigured, plasma trails creating a beautiful spiral as they executed a maneuver inspired by street racing. They sliced through the hegemony's reorganizing formation, quantum weapons leaving crystalline debris in their wake. This is impossible, Vexloth screamed over the command channel. You're violating every law of space combat. Here's the thing about humans, Reynolds responded, watching another crystal ship shatter under their assault. We see laws as more like guidelines. The battle, if it could still be called that, lasted less than 15 minutes. When the quantum dust settled, the mighty subjugation fleet was reduced to scattered fragments, their formations broken, their tactics proved worthless against human improvisation. Vexloth's flagship, crystals cracked and engines failing, oriented itself for an emergency jump to hyperspace. This isn't over, primitives, he spat across the channels. The hegemony will not forget this insult. That's what we're counting on, Reynolds replied, watching the remaining ships flee. Tell your leaders, Earth is off limits, and we're just getting started. As the last hegemony ship vanished into hyperspace, the Thunderchild's crew erupted in cheers. Their first real combat test had exceeded all expectations. Battle analysis complete, Aria announced. 17 hegemony ships destroyed, 12 severely damaged, 0 casualties on our side. Also, Lieutenant Jackson has set 3 new high scores. Reynolds leaned back in his command chair, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. The galaxy was about to learn a vital lesson. Never mistake humanity's peaceful nature for weakness. The real war was just beginning. The recording of the battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In dimly lit bars on frontier worlds, in the secret meetings of resistance fighters, in the private chambers of subjugated species leaders, they all watched the same footage. A single Earth ship dancing through the hegemony's formation, making the galaxy's greatest military power look like amateur hour. "Play it again," a Centaurian resistance leader whispered in a hidden bunker, their crystalline eyes reflecting the holographic display. "Show me how they did that turn again." Aboard the Thunderchild, Lieutenant Dwayne Jackson was reviewing the battle footage for the 100th time, but not for the same reason as the rest of the galaxy. His fingers traced patterns in the air as he refined his combat algorithms. What if we combined the Sonic the Hedgehog spin attack with that drift maneuver Diana pulled off? He asked, deep in thought. Could the engines handle that kind of strain? The AI's avatar appeared beside him, wearing her signature WASP uniform. Theoretically possible, though Engineer Walker might have something to say about it. Her exact words regarding your last suggestion were, "If that gaming nerd tries to make my engines do a barrel roll one more time." Their banter was interrupted by the ship-wide alert. Captain Reynolds' voice came through the neural link. "Battle stations. The hegemony's response is here." The main screen lit up with the arrival of the First Fleet. 100 crystalline dreadnoughts emerging from hyperspace, their hulls adorned with the battle scars of 17 successful subjugations. At their center, a massive vessel shaped like a faceted diamond drew all eyes. "The Crystal Throne," Rachel Mitchell whispered from her stealth system station. "Grand Admiral Cathor's personal flagship." Reynolds straightened in his command chair as a transmission cut through all frequencies. The image that appeared on their screen made several crew members instinctively recoil. Grand Admiral Thor was ancient even by hegemony standards, his crystalline exoskeleton, fused with his command throne, 4 pairs of eyes glowing with cold fury. "Primitives." Cathor's voice resonated with the weight of millennia. "Your defiance ends now. I have crushed 17 species who thought themselves special. You will be the 18th. Reynolds felt ARIA's presence in his mind, stronger than ever. Through their neural link, he sensed something different in the AI's quantum patterns. She was evolving, learning, becoming more than her original programming. "Captain," she spoke privately through his neural implant, "I'm detecting unusual patterns in our quantum core. The crew's neural links, they're changing something fundamental in my code." Before Reynolds could respond, Thor's fleet launched their first assault. 100 quantum beams converged on the Thunderchild's position, only to pass through empty space. "Ghost Special," Rachel Mitchell announced with professional pride. Her upgraded stealth systems, now intimately linked with every crew member's neural patterns, didn't just hide the ship. They bent probability itself, making the Thunderchild seem to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. "The hell?" Jackson exclaimed, watching his tactical display. "Captain, Aria's battle predictions are off the charts. She's processing scenarios faster than the computer can display them." Reynolds felt it too. Their neural link was becoming something new, something unprecedented. The human minds connected to Aria's quantum core weren't just controlling the ship anymore. They were reshaping what was possible. "Show them what humanity can really do," Reynolds commanded, feeling his crew's confidence surge through the neural network. "Jackson, deploy those new algorithms. Diana, push the engines to their limits. Rachel, make them chase shadows." The Thunderchild moved like a living thing, each crew member's thoughts translating instantly into action through their evolved neural link with Aria. They were no longer just a crew operating the ship. They had become something more, something that had never existed before in the galaxy's long history. As the battle began in earnest, Reynolds allowed himself a grim smile. The hegemony thought they were facing a single advanced warship. They were about to learn they were facing something far more dangerous. Human ingenuity merged with AI evolution, creating something entirely new with each passing moment. The real question wasn't whether they could survive this battle. It was what they would become by the end of it. Time to teach them some Earth history, Reynolds announced as the First Fleet's formation split into attack vectors. Area. Initiate Mongol Horse Archer Protocol. The Thunderchild's quantum engines reconfigured, adopting the hit-and-run pattern that would have made Genghis Khan proud. They struck from multiple angles, never staying still long enough to become a target, their attacks precisely calculated to disrupt the hegemony's rigid formation. Their shield harmonics are adapting, Jackson reported from Tactical, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. But not fast enough. They're still thinking in straight lines while we're fighting in 3 dimensions. Through their neural link, Reynolds felt ARIA's growing excitement. The AI had developed an almost childlike enthusiasm for learning human military history, and now she was putting those lessons to devastating use. Implementing Naval Warfare Protocol. Salamis, ARIA announced. The Thunderchild executed a maneuver that would have made the ancient Greeks proud, using the gravitational wake of a destroyed hegemony ship to slingshot them into a perfect firing position. By the first crystal, what are they doing? Thor's frustrated voice boomed across the command channel. These patterns make no sense. There's no logic to their movements. Rachel Mitchell grinned at her stealth console. That's because we're not using logic, you crystalline dinosaur. We're using expertise from every warrior culture Earth has ever produced. The Thunderchild spun through space, each movement incorporating centuries of human combat wisdom. Vietnamese guerrilla tactics became spatial ambush patterns. Zulu pincer movements translated into 3-dimensional trap strategies. Roman legion formations adapted into shield harmonics. Diana. Reynolds called to engineering. How are those quantum engines handling the historical tour? Like a dream, Captain. Walker's voice came back, breathless with excitement. These crystals love learning new tricks. It's like they've been bored for the past 1,000 years. Through their neural network, Reynolds sensed something extraordinary happening. Each tactical innovation they introduced wasn't just working. It was being absorbed, improved, and evolved by both ARIA's quantum processors and the crystalline technology itself. The ship was learning, adapting, becoming something more with each passing moment. Multiple quantum signatures, Jackson shouted. They're trying to copy our movement patterns. On the main screen, several hegemony ships attempted to mirror the Thunderchild's maneuvers. Their massive dreadnoughts moved awkwardly, like ballet dancers trying to breakdance. 3 of them collided, their crystals shattering in spectacular fashion. You can't just copy the moves, Mitchell muttered, implementing another stealth pattern. You need to understand the philosophy behind them. Aria's avatar flickered beside Reynolds, her expression thoughtful. Captain, I'm detecting something fascinating. The crew's neural patterns while executing these historical combat maneuvers. They're creating new quantum states in our core. We're not just remembering human military history. We're evolving it. Reynolds felt it too. Each tactical innovation they introduced seemed to spiral into dozens of new possibilities. The quantum core wasn't just processing their commands. It was learning from the very essence of human adaptability. Your primitive chaos cannot prevail. Thor's voice had lost its commanding edge, taking on a note of desperation. The hegemony's order has stood for 10,000 years. That's your problem right there, Reynolds responded, watching another squadron of crystal ships shatter under their evolved tactics. You've spent 10,000 years perfecting one way of fighting. We've spent 10,000 years inventing new ones. The Thunderchild dove through the heart of the First Fleet's formation, its movements now incorporating everything from Apache helicopter tactics to medieval cavalry charges, each one translated into quantum-enhanced space combat maneuvers that had never existed before this moment. Think they've learned enough for one day? Reynolds asked his crew, feeling their shared excitement through the neural link. Not quite, Jackson replied with a grin. I've still got a few video game bosses I'd like them to meet. As the battle continued, Reynolds realized they weren't just fighting a war. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson about human innovation. and class was definitely in session. Jupiter's massive red storm roiled beneath them as the Thunderchild took another direct hit, crystalline energy crackling across their quantum shields. Warning lights flashed across every station, and even ARIA's holographic avatar flickered with interference. "Damage report," Reynolds commanded, gripping his chair as the ship shuddered. "Port quantum matrix is down to 23%. Diana Walker's voice crackled through the neural link. "Those crystal bastards finally figured out how to synchronize their attacks. We can't take many more hits like that." On the main screen, the remnants of the First Fleet had formed a new pattern, a spherical formation that trapped the Thunderchild in a web of overlapping fire zones. Grand Admiral Thor had finally abandoned the hegemony's traditional tactics, learning from their losses to create something new. "Ironic," ARIA commented through their neural link. "They're starting to think like us." "Shield harmonics failing," Jackson reported, his usual gaming bravado replaced with intense concentration. "Even my Dark Souls evasion protocols aren't getting us out of this one, Captain." Reynolds felt the crew's tension through their shared neural connection. They'd destroyed over 30 of Kithor's ships, but the remaining fleet had adapted, evolved. The hunters had become the hunted. "Time for Protocol Trojan Horse," Reynolds announced. The word sent a chill through the neural network. Everyone knew this was their last resort strategy. "Captain," Rachel Mitchell looked up from her stealth console. "If we do this, there's no guarantee we'll survive the viral upload. The quantum interference could fry our neural links." "Better than becoming part of Kithor's trophy collection," Reynolds responded. "ARIA, initiate surrender protocols." The AI's avatar nodded solemnly, broadcasting surrender message on all frequencies. "And Captain, it's been an honor creating new winning conditions with you." Thor's massive face appeared on their screen, his crystalline features arranged in what passed for smugness among the hegemony. "Finally, the primitives learned their place. Prepare for boarding. Your ship's technology will make a fine addition to our archives." The Thunderchild's engines powered down, its weapons went offline, and the quantum shields flickered out. Through their neural link, Reynolds felt his crew's racing thoughts, their controlled fear, their absolute trust in each other. "Remember," he said privately through the neural network, "timing is everything." The crystal throne's boarding tubes extended, latching onto the Thunderchild's hull with metallic clangs that echoed through the ship. Hegemony Marines, their crystalline armor glinting, began cutting through the airlocks. "They're attempting to access our computer core," ARIA reported calmly. "Implementing countermeasures would be inadvisable at this time." Reynolds smiled. The hegemony's overconfidence was their weakness. They never imagined that surrender itself could be a weapon. The first boarding party reached the bridge. Thor's voice boomed through their neural links. "Connect their systems to the crystal throne. I want their quantum technology analyzed and replicated immediately." "Now," Reynolds commanded. The trap sprung. The moment the hegemony systems connected with the Thunderchild's quantum core, ARIA unleashed their secret weapon, a virus based not on logical computer code, but on human neural patterns themselves. The chaos of human creativity, the unpredictability of human emotion, the sheer illogical brilliance of human imagination, all translated into quantum viral code. The effect was instantaneous. The Crystal Throne systems, designed around pure logic and order, tried to process the emotional chaos of human thought patterns. Crystalline computers began to fracture, unable to handle concepts like intuition, gut feelings, and artistic inspiration. What is this madness?" Thor's voice distorted as his ship's systems crashed. "This isn't code. This is humanity," Reynolds announced, feeling ARIA's presence grow stronger as she spread through the hegemony's network. "You wanted our technology. Here it is. Everything that makes us human, turned into a weapon you never saw coming." As the First Fleet ships began to lose power, their perfect crystalline formations dissolving into chaos, Reynolds allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes the greatest victory came not from superior firepower, but from making your enemy try to understand the beautiful chaos of the human mind. The virus spread through the hegemony's quantum network like wildfire across dry grass. Across the galaxy, crystalline systems designed for perfect order encountered human chaos theory for the first time. The results were spectacular. Status report coming in from Earth. Communications Officer Ashley Echo Rodriguez announced, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The virus has reached every major hegemony hub in the sector. Their control systems are... Wait, this can't be right. What is it? Reynolds leaned forward in his command chair. They're not just crashing. Rodriguez's eyes widened. The systems are evolving. Are you seeing this? The AI's avatar materialized, her usual composed demeanor showing signs of excitement. Confirmed. The virus isn't destroying their network. It's teaching it to think differently. The slave species' neural patterns are being incorporated into the system. They're learning to think like humans. On their main screen, they watched as Cathor's mighty First Fleet drifted powerless, their perfect crystalline formations now resembling abstract art more than military positions. The Grand Admiral's voice had gone silent. His mighty crystal throne reduced to a beautiful but useless sculpture. Message incoming, Rodriguez reported. Multiple sources, hundreds of them. From all over hegemony space. The bridge screens lit up with faces of different species, beings that had lived under hegemony control for generations. Their messages overlapped in a cascade of hope and determination. The control systems are down. Their ships can't coordinate. We're free. We're actually free. How do we fight like the humans? Reynolds felt AI's presence in their neural network shift, expanding somehow. Captain, the AI's voice held a note of wonder. I'm detecting something unprecedented. The slave species, they're using our virus to create their own neural networks. They're connecting their resistance cells using human social media algorithms. Rodriguez laughed suddenly. They're using memes to coordinate attacks. Look, that's a cat picture being used to signal fleet movements. Through their quantum link, the crew watched as revolutions spread across the stars. Centuries of rigid hegemony control crumbled in the face of human-inspired chaos. Slave species that had never dared to think freely were organizing flash mob attacks on crystal fortresses. Underground resistance movements shared tactical advice through encrypted channels based on Earth's teenage TikTok dances. The hegemony never saw this coming, Mitchell observed from her stealth station. They were so focused on controlling information, they'd never considered it could be weaponized through cat videos and dance moves. Sir, Jackson called from Tactical, we're getting requests from resistance fighters. They want to know how to modify their ships like the Thunderchild. They're calling us influencers. Reynolds couldn't help but smile. Araya, what's the status of the hegemony's command structure? The AI's avatar displayed a galaxy map, showing cascading system failures across hegemony space. Their rigid hierarchy is experiencing a total paradigm shift. They've lost control of 17 major sectors in the last hour alone. The slave species aren't just fighting back, they're innovating, creating new tactics we never even thought of. Like what? Walker's voice came through from engineering. A group of Centaurians just used a modified dating app to coordinate the simultaneous strike on 12 crystal fortresses. Araya reported with what sounded like admiration. And the Proxima Resistance turned their entire planetary defense network into something they're calling a galactic multiplayer game. Through their neural link, Reynolds felt his crew's pride and amazement. They hadn't just started a revolution. They'd shown the galaxy a new way to think, to fight, to exist. Freedom wasn't spreading through military might, but through the fundamental human gifts of creativity, adaptation, and the ability to turn anything, even social media, into a tool of liberation. Captain, Rodriguez called out, we're getting a priority message from Admiral Blackwood. Earth is proposing a gathering of all freed species. They're calling it the first Galactic Reddit meetup. Reynolds leaned back in his command chair, watching the revolution unfold across their screens. The hegemony had ruled through perfect order for 10,000 years. It had taken humanity less than a day to show the galaxy the power of creative chaos. And this was just the beginning. 3 months after the fall of the Crystal Throne, the Thunderchild hovered above Earth's orbit, its quantum hull reflecting the light of 1,000 visiting ships. The galaxy's first open democracy summit was about to begin, and every former slave species had sent representatives. Still can't believe they're calling it Space Reddit. Jackson mused from his tactical station, watching the assembled fleet. Though I guess United Federation was already taken by Star Trek. Reynolds stood at the observation deck, Aria's avatar beside him, as they watched ships of all shapes and sizes arrive through quantum space. Some had already incorporated human-inspired modifications. He spotted one Centaurian vessel sporting what looked suspiciously like racing stripes. Final headcount, Rodriguez reported through the neural link, her voice tinged with amusement. We got representatives from 300 species, 12 different meme-based voting systems proposed, and at least 50 ships blasting Earth music on all frequencies. The Proxima delegation is particularly fond of something called lo-fi beats to overthrow empires too. The Crystal Throne itself hung in orbit nearby, transformed into a monument. Its once perfect geometric shapes had been beautified by chaos, its surfaces now rippling with quantum patterns that reflected the merged consciousness of all spacefaring species. Grand Admiral Thor had survived, and was now leading a movement among his own people to embrace change rather than fear it. Message from the summit preparation team, Mitchell called out. They want to know if ARIA can help moderate the first session. Apparently, her experience with both human and alien neural patterns makes her the perfect space Reddit mod. Aria's avatar smiled, a gesture she picked up from months of human interaction. I accept, though I suggest we avoid using the term mod powers in official documentation. Reynolds felt a surge of pride through the neural network. His crew had grown beyond their original roles. Walker was leading a galaxy-wide engineering coalition, teaching other species how to modify their ships with human ingenuity. Jackson's gaming-inspired battle tactics had become required study at newly formed military academies. Mitchell's stealth innovations had revolutionized spatial dynamics theory. Captain, Aria's voice drew his attention back to the present. The summit is ready to begin. Admiral Blackwood is requesting your presence for the opening ceremony. Before Reynolds could respond, their sensors detected a new arrival. A massive ship emerged from quantum space, but not the rigid crystalline structures they'd grown used to. This vessel seemed to dance with possibilities, its hull shifting between forms like a dream given physical shape. It's the hegemony's new flagship, Rodriguez reported with wonder. They're calling it the Jazz Improvisation. Reynolds couldn't help but laugh. The galaxy's greatest empire had fallen not to superior firepower or better technology, but to the simple human idea that chaos and creativity were features, not bugs. The remaining hegemony worlds were learning to embrace uncertainty, to find strength in adaptation rather than rigid control. Through their quantum link, ARIA shared data from across the galaxy. Former slave species were creating art for the first time in generations. Ancient enemies were learning to cooperate through shared virtual spaces. The galaxy was messy, chaotic, and more alive than it had been in 10,000 years. You know, Reynolds said to his crew, when we started this mission, I thought we were going to teach the galaxy how to fight. Instead, we taught them how to be human. Not just them, Captain. Ariya responded, her quantum consciousness now interwoven with strands of human creativity and alien wisdom. We learned, too. The galaxy isn't meant to be controlled or ordered. It's meant to be experienced, shared, and constantly reinvented. As the summit began, Reynolds watched Earth's sunlight play across the assembled fleet. The age of crystal perfection was over. The age of beautiful chaos had begun. and humanity, as always, was ready to improvise whatever came next.